Mr. Grindelwald, what do you want with me?
Jean, my dear girl, I can see in you what your fellow mutants fail to see. You have the gift of the phoenix. There is a legend in your family that a phoenix will come to any member who is in dire need.
Sorry, wrong franchise, but Sir Vuck is literally a female Grindelwald, am I right? Dark Phoenix, directed by Simon Kinberg in his directorial debut, and is the 12th installment in the X-Men franchise overall. So Dark Phoenix tells the story of, this is the origin story of the Dark Phoenix, which we saw in X-Men The Last Stand 13 years ago, but this time it's the primary focus, and we see how Jean Grey, she absorbs this deadly cosmic force while a mission in space goes horribly wrong, and it consumes her, and she becomes the Dark Phoenix, which against her will is making her the deadliest being in existence, and the other mutants on the X-Men team, she's gonna destroy us all, and then others are like, no, she's misunderstood. Do we fight her? Do we not fight her? And even worse is that a shape-shifting alien, a Vuck, played by Jessica Chastain, is manipulating Jean even further for her power. The X-Men franchise is a series I have a real love and hate relationship with. You have gold like Logan, but then you have total garbage like Deadpool 2 last year. And I heard Simon Kinberg did work on The Last Stand, but this is his first time at directing an X-Men installment, so I was willing to give him a chance to see what he could bring to the table. And sadly, the X-Men fandom were extremely on the fence. They were strongly hating on and prejudging the trailers like crazy at the time, like this movie was going to bomb no matter what, and they were even more skeptical when they heard about this movie's numerous delays and pushbacks. This movie was originally going to be released in 2018, last year, but Fox pushed it back to 2019 because they needed more time. And I always say extra time always helps a movie, not detracts from it. But sadly, X-Men Dark Phoenix, looking at that Rotten Tomatoes score, sadly this is the most negatively received X-Men movie to date. This is the most panned movie I have seen all year. But do I agree with that? Heck no. Dark Phoenix, to me, is the most underrated masterpiece of 2019, and I am going to receive all the dislikes from the Dark Phoenix haters, but I say Dark Phoenix is the best X-Men movie ever made, period. Please don't hurt me. Yes, there I said it. I like it even... Logan was initially my favourite X-Men movie, but Dark Phoenix has just dethroned it. This review is going to be a total defense of this underrated, freaking awesome X-Men movie, and why it deserves none of the hate and backlash that it is receiving. So first, my positives. Yeah, I love that this is finally an X-Men movie
with no Wolverine or Logan in it at all. Well, technically you could count the Deadpool movies, but in the original X-Men franchise, and not including Deadpool, this is the first one to focus on Jean instead of Logan. And Jean, to me, she's my favourite X-Men character, and I've been waiting to see a movie that does tackle the Dark Phoenix storyline, and this movie is needed after the Dark Phoenix storyline was not perfectly told in The Last Stand. So we need one that can tell it better. This movie does the Dark Phoenix storyline 100 times better than The Last Stand ever did. I guess the fandom are put off by this movie because it's ever so inaccurate to how the Phoenix storyline was portrayed in the comics. Like, it just forgets about the good side of the Phoenix and just cuts us straight to the bad side of the Dark Phoenix. But to me, I'm in the minority, sure, but I don't care if a comic book adaptation isn't 100% faithful to the comic. I don't mind changes if it means improving the story from a movie storytelling point of view. But by focusing on the bad side of the Phoenix, that is the part that gets you into the story. Sophie Turner as Jean Grey. She is electrifying, giving her greatest performance ever as Jean Grey and of her entire career. She gives one of the best performances of 2019 straight up. But yeah, she fully deserves a Harry Award nomination for Best Actress at the Harry Awards in 2020. And I feel a ton of sympathy for Jean. And without the Phoenix, she is a kind soul, and she doesn't want her to be evil or harming her other team members by any means. And that moment in X-Men Apocalypse where she unleashes the Phoenix and overpowers Apocalypse. Sure, people may be confused how come she had the Phoenix powers then, but at the beginning of this movie, those Phoenix powers have just disappeared. And I say to that, well, maybe Dark Phoenix is a prequel to X-Men Apocalypse, so maybe at that point Jean would have kept the Phoenix tame. She and Brie Larson are the two best female performances of the year, and I love that this is the first female-led X-Men movie, and yet it's considered the worst. What the fuck? There's this one awesome girl power moment and line from Jennifer Lawrence's Mystique when she's chatting with Charles, and she's like, you know, Charles, the women are always saving the men around here. You might want to change the title to X-Woman. And I absolutely love that line. I don't get why people are complaining about that. They're just saying, oh, it's hating men. That's bullshit. It's not being offensive to men intentionally. It's a harmless girl power moment that's saying that the women in X-Men are equal to the men. You know what? I'm with Mystique. Why was it titled just X-Men and not X-Women? Why not just title it X-People to get both genders in the title? And James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender as Charles Xavier / Professor X and Eric / Magneto, they give their most extraordinary performances in this franchise, and we finally get to see the bold James McAvoy and Charles Xavier. So he's becoming more and more like Patrick Stewart Xavier at this point, and he becomes such a strong father figure and mentor to Jean. Even if Jean does unintentionally kill off Mystique, you're like, hold on, that's confusing. Isn't Mystique still very much alive in the original X-Men trilogy? And isn't this a prequel to that trilogy? Well,
yes, but the X-Men movies have always had this issue with their timeline, but don't worry, it's only temporary. She will come back to life in the New Mutants movie. And Jessica Chastain as Vuk in this movie. I've never seen a Jessica Chastain role be criticised so much, and to the haters I say, leave her alone. Jessica Chastain rocks. Jessica Chastain is astonishing in everything she's in, and she is bound to knock us out of the freaking park in It Chapter 2 later this year. And as Vuk to me is easily the best X-Men villain in the franchise. Apocalypse was at first my favourite, but Vuk takes the cake. Vuk is a female Palpatine or Grindelwald kind of character. How her home world was destroyed by the Dark Phoenix, so she is getting into Jean's head, and she is using Jean to advance her power. And you know how much I adore manipulative villains, so Vuk immediately struck a chord with me, and this movie may not be the most action-packed X-Men movie, but it's the pacing is still a skyrocket. This is more of a character study and more of a drama. It's more emotional than the other X-Men movies. This movie made me tear up to the extent even more than Logan did, and that is saying a lot. The action scenes we do get are wonderfully epic, especially the train fights being the most epic of them all in the climax. Originally that train fight wasn't going to be in the movie, but they added it in with reshoots. So you see, Fox did give a shit about this movie, no matter what the critics are saying. They took their time to rewrite and improve some things in the script, and that's still not good enough for some people. And the Hans Zimmer's score, I don't mind that they didn't use the original X-Men theme in this movie. I love that Hans Zimmer's score was original and was beautifully moving throughout. It was inevitable that Hans Zimmer's score was going to be a masterpiece, as he is one of the true gods among movie composers. So yeah, Dark Phoenix is completely underrated and a flat-out awesome X-Men and superhero movie on its own. I don't have a single complaint with it. It is the most original and darkest and most powerful, and certainly for me the X-Men movie that leaves the most impact, and I'm so overjoyed that it was finally made 19 years after this franchise first began in 2000, and I was justified in putting it as number 5 on my top 5 most anticipated movies of 2019, as it truly lived up to the hype and more, and it's my second favourite superhero movie this year, second only to Captain Marvel.
I give Dark Phoenix 5 stars out of 5. Best movie ever.
Damn, this is gonna be my most disliked review of 2019, but oh well, each to their own. Film is subjective. I respect your thoughts if you hate Dark Phoenix. Well, I love you guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. And what do you think of Dark Phoenix? Are you a hater or are you with me and think it's underrated? Please comment and let me know. Please like this video and subscribe. Please follow me on Twitter and on Instagram. And I'll see you next time when I review Secret Life of Pets 2 and Rocket Man. And remember, movies are us. Bye, guys.